guys, so this is leadership, and we are in the fourth section, which is practical leadership, and this one is still on spiritual warfare, and it's called Behind the Veil 4.4. 1 Corinthians 2:13, these things we also speak, not in words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the Holy Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. So what I'm going to share with you, although it may seem out there to some of you, and you may not be able to see or experience any of the things that I'm explaining to you, okay? You should be at minimum aware that these things exist because you will be more effective in your spiritual fight. I believe that I and my daughter are allowed to see behind the veil at times so that we can be more confident and effective in the fight. But I believe I'm allowed to so that I can teach you how to be more effective in the fight. Because I've seen things occur and I'm like, oh, well, that makes more sense. Okay, I'm certain some of you have actually been aware of some of the things that I am going to share with you, but you've dismissed it. Even people on my leadership team, they're constantly dismissing stuff. I've done it in the past. I, for decades, saw some of these things and didn't realize and put it together because the church has not educated us on this, okay? In contrast, you may not have been aware or observed any of this, okay? You might just be walking around oblivious, happy as a clam, everything's great. And that's not a good place to be when you're in a war, okay? You don't want to be that sitting duck floating in the middle of the pond, whistling along while the war's going on around you, because you don't want to be that guy. Now, either way, I'm going to aim at describing the impossible. It's very difficult to do what I'm going to do because this is much easier if I'm sitting next to someone and then I can go, oh, did you see that? And they go, oh my gosh, I see that. So I'm going to try and do things that aren't really easy to do in this format. Putting it on YouTube, you have to look at a picture and it's not a good picture because these things are in motion, they're very quick. The fact that we even have pictures is amazing, okay? But the fact is, it's very difficult to explain some of this. And let me just fast forward that there's a gap between what our eyes see and what the camera sees. So the pictures that I'm going to show you are not going to match some of the descriptors that I'm going to explain to you. And that's why. This process of being observant of the spaces around you, this takes some slowing down mentally, which is not easy for everyone, okay? You have to take a little second and look around and observe and think, does that match? Is that normal? And if it is, you go, oh, yeah, that's normal. But if it's not, you go, let me think about that. So you have to slow down a little bit. You have to take time to look, okay? I have a few sketches. I have a few pictures. There's no possibility I can explain everything I see, okay? I'm giving you a small bit, even though this will be a long video. I'm giving you a small bit of what I've been shown. Because some of it, you would literally have to be with me. Some of it is information I've been told not to share with you. You're not ready for it. I do want to tell you that none of these pictures have been altered to make a fake thing appear. Okay, none of these are oh, I threw a little CGI pic. I really actually don't know how to do that. So that's not me. What I have done is marked out sometimes around the outline of something, or I've changed the color. Let's add more blue so we can see the white image better, something like that. But I've never added anything to it to be see, here's a weird thing. You want to see that? We're not tricking anybody. I'm trying to train you so that you can fight better. Okay, so I'm not going to give you anything fake. Here's some angel and demon basics, because that's what we're getting into. Behind the veil is the whole world of angels and demons. Okay, so here's some angel and demon basics. The human eye can see the color spectrum of the rainbow. Okay, once you are allowed to see behind the veil, more colors are able to be perceived. Now, I want to clarify, I've been to heaven, and the colors there are much different, much better, many more colors than Earth, okay? These colors I'm talking about, they're just the behind the veil colors. They're not even in the category of heaven, okay? The behind the veil colors are just unique to this realm. There are colors I can't really describe. I'm going to use my best words to help you understand them. But if you see the same thing, you're going to be like, oh, I see why she couldn't describe that. Okay, you'll understand. The colors are best seen from behind the veil on a solid surface. So if you had like an entire wall, we have this one wall, I've never decorated it. I don't know, just can't find the right stuff or whatever. Well, that becomes my it's like a theater wall now, because I see angels there all the time. I see different things that'll like pop up, and it's like I'm watching a movie, you know. The other thing is if you have a row of trees or a row of shrubs and it's basically a solid color, you can see better. The colors I'm going to be talking about, or in the lights and the fuzzes and the different things I'm going to be explaining, none of them can be explained logically. Zero. Okay? So if I say there's a light on the ceiling, and that means that there is evidence that there's an angel standing there and it's beaming light upwards, there's nothing else in the room that is able to produce light on that spot. Okay? That's just how this works. You have to be able to logically define out and say, that's illogical, therefore I can understand this is probably in the spiritual realm. You cannot take something that is logical, like there's a lamp and it's beaming up light and you're like, look, light on the ceiling. Hey, the lamp is showing me the angel. No. If it's logically explainable with science or with art or with how the human eye works, that's not what we're talking about. Okay, again, I'm just going to apologize. Some of these pictures aren't very good. I don't have a ton of pictures, but the ones I do have, I'm going to share with you. Now, we're going to start with Team God and angels. Hebrews 1:7. Who makes his angels spirits and his ministers a flame of fire? Why do I choose this verse? Because it's clear that the angels are spirits and a minister can be a flame of fire. Okay, that means these are not always in the same shape as a painter might put them, where we would understand, oh, that's an angel, a man with wings. They have lots of different forms. And I want you to get your mind in that mindset, because most of the demon stuff, they're in real weird forms. They're not just like ugly animal kind of looking thing, okay? I consider angels generally shy, okay? Because they're there, they're peaceful, and they're authoritative, but they don't often show themselves. If there is a white or a brightness with no source, that is evidence of an angel. Now let's clarify. Sometimes an angel can be seen like head to toe, and sometimes you can just see evidence of an angel. Okay, I'm going to be explaining parts of both. So a fuzzy white, like a fog between you and something else, that could be an angel, or that can be a protective boundary that they put up for you. Sometimes you can see their defined wings. I caught this at the theater. I was taking a tour backstage, and this angel wing was caught in the picture, protecting us. Sometimes steam from a hot tub or opening a shower door or something like that can wrap around, and you can see a part of their form. Their silhouette can be seen on a solid color surface like a painted wall or dark row of trees, a blue cloudless sky, a fence, a pool of water, things like that. If they choose to reveal themselves, you can see a wall of angels around you in their different shapes, heights, etc. These often float and bounce up and down and side to side, moving in front of you. I had an angel once over me at the pool, and it kept moving its wings in different ways, and I learned what direction their wings move in order to move which way. It was pretty neat. Here's a little sketch. Floating angels that are protecting you will often be above you, and you can see just the hem of their garment, which is protected by dots of light that act like thousands of little sprites or little tiny angels that kind of zip around really fast. So these dots are moving around constantly, swirling, and the little dots of light move in curling motions or straight line motions. And if you see this, look up, and sometimes you can see the angel above you, or at least its outline. When driving, their gowns or wings can sometimes be seen over the windshield or the side window, moving and flapping in the wind, similar to a vapor. sometimes flickering with the light with no source, sometimes a white image with unexplainable vertical rainbow highlights, sometimes like vapor above a fire. These variances depend on their rank. Warm, fuzzy, and static feeling, a very comforting and soft feeling, that's how they feel if you touch them or they touch you. Healing from an angel is very mechanical and zappy energy with a tingling feeling. In your mind, you can picture where the angel is working, almost like in little squares, simultaneously. It feels like small squares are being moved around in your body. It's very peaceful, but sometimes there is a little bit of pain or ache, but it's quite brief. Nice, happy smells. Chocolate, cinnamon sugar, vanilla bread, cotton candy, man's cologne, gummy bears, gardenia, flour, etc. All without a source. Now, if you say you're cooking cinnamon sugar cookies, and then you're like, oh, I smell cinnamon, I have an angel. No. If you're outside or you're at the mall and then this complete smell just comes over you, that is so amazing, that's an angel. There's no source for that. You are just like, I'm outside, it smells like outside, and then all of a sudden it smells like chocolate. Hi, chocolate angel. That's what I say. They have a color hierarchy that signifies their function. Light magenta type tone is a holy protector angel, and they can cover all of your furnishings in your home. This color is a protection. The ones that look like fire and are red-orange with a bit of yellow are protectors that heal. There are many more colors, but this will suffice for now. They have different types of hair that classify them into their own unit. So all with the same formatted braids are in the same unit, all with big loopy curls or small short curls. They have uniformed hair in their division. Within the same unit, they have different armor and different functions. There are various sizes and shapes of angels, like the tiny ones we call sprites. And there are huge 12-foot ones that look similar to the shape of a man, with wings that can tuck away. There are ball-shaped ones with many eyes. There are giant ones that are bigger than a house. There are humongous ones that are like the size of a mountain. There's a lot of different ones. Angels can change forms and sizes and density as needed and be visible or invisible. Sprites can move especially quickly and are best caught on film, but you might notice them with the naked eye, especially out of your peripheral vision, because you'll just see some light just kind of dash by. When walking or driving, the angels form an angel highway above you. They know where you are going, and the path is white and flat. Nothing can come down over you or around you within that width. It's like an invisible surround. Once in a while, the walls can be seen, and it is white with rows of mini swirly dots and lights, like an invisible barrier. I was allowed one day to see the protective boundary around our property line. It was like a thin wall of multicolored lights and dots in rows. The colors, of course, were heavenly, not very rainbowy, but they sort of had their own flavor of rainbow. In that same day, I was shown illogical lights coming into my bathroom. I got a picture of that. Now, these lights were completely illogical because the sun was on the other side of the house, and these were beaming straight into my house. There's no doubt it was angelic. And look at these colors and look at these shapes and things going on. It's amazing. Interacting with angels in human form is very unique. We've knowingly done so 3 times. They have much peace, and you instantly trust them as a stranger. You think you just walk up, or they walk up to you and you think they're a person. But you trust them as if they're more than family. They help and then immediately leave. They only speak about what their task is. I saw one disappear, and my daughter saw a different one disappear. They just get really transparent and turn to dots, and then poof, they're gone. They can uncannily know facts about your immediate situation they are helping you with. One day we went to a hotel that had a beachfront restaurant in it, and we were going to go to eat. My husband didn't feel well when we arrived. This woman appeared out of literally nowhere and asked if it was his blood sugar or low blood pressure. Those are his two issues, and not even all his doctors know that. Then we said, I don't know. And she said, I think it's blood sugar. Let me get you a drink. And she came back with orange juice and candy. And then she disappeared behind a pillar. I looked for her. She was never found in the hotel again. Another time, my daughter and I, we went into a store we've never been into. And we parked in a lot. We went inside, shopped, and then we left. But we left out of a different door than we came in, and we didn't realize that. So I'm looking around the parking lot thinking, where's my car? You know, is it stolen? What the heck? So all of a sudden, this man arrives out of nowhere. He was tall, thin, good looking, very peaceful. And he came and talked to us and said, oh, I know where your car is. And he led us to the other parking lot. Then he went in the store, in through some doors, and he disappeared. You know, there's those double doors for the weather. So he went in the first set of doors, and before he got into the second set of doors, he was gone. I was like, that was an angel. So I didn't say anything to my daughter at the time, because I was like, I just noticed that, but that sounds crazy, because this was like a couple years ago. And then we're in the car driving, and she goes, do you have any sense that that might have been an angel? And I was like, yeah, that was really weird, right? I said, did you see him disappear? And she's like, yes. So yeah, they're real, and they exist, and they're here. And when they interact with you, you're like, wait, I think that's different. Now, angels gather up darkness and wickedness and put them into a special angel box, and then they compress the box and take the box away from you. That's how it's like taken out of your way. When fighting demons, they use their sword. If it's a low-level demon, it instantly disappears. If it's a mid-level demon, with each slash, it shrinks until it disappears. If it's a high-level demon, they can fight for a long while before it is destroyed. Random flashes of long horizontal light similar to this, with no source. There's no reason for this flash of light to occur. If that is near you, that is evidence that your angels are taking down demons around you. I always pray and to have them empowered, and then I also thank them. I just thank them audibly, because they're just right there. After I had already begun the process of recording this series, I was given more information that was very photogenic, as if the Lord really wants this information out there, because it's very hard to catch this stuff on film. So here are a few interesting photos that may be hard for you to see, but perhaps you can see what I can see and what my daughter can see. Okay, now we're going to get into God's birds and wildlife. That might sound strange to you. Hang on tight because this is really cool. So I was noticing mourning doves were showing up at my house and not acting like mourning doves. Now, first, it wasn't the right season. And second, they're not typically in the area we live. We live in a very tropical region. Second, we used to have mourning doves in a different city. And they were very charming to watch. I thought they were very interesting. They were very consistent though. They came every morning and they pecked around for food at sunrise. And then by 9 a.m. they went into the nearby bush, never to be seen again until the next morning. Never. I never saw a mourning dove ever if it was not between 6 and 9 a.m. Okay? Now, these mourning doves that I was seeing, they were out at night. They were out all day. They were at my sliding glass door. They were on my roof. They were on every light on every street I was driving on. They were at the pool. They were at the store. They were at the theater. They were everywhere. It defied logic that there would be A, this many mourning doves in our town, and B, they're everywhere. They're not just like hanging out in the shade at sunrise. So finally, I just started talking to them. Like I had two, they were over my door. I was sitting out on the patio and looking at them. And then I just started talking to them. I'm like, so how are you guys today? Blah, blah, blah. As if, I'm a Disney princess and they're understanding me. So then I prayed about it and I was like, what is going on with all these mourning doves? Okay. So one night I got a personal prophecy and I was told that the birds were sent by God, just like Elijah. But instead of bringing food, they were there to watch out for me and report to the angels. Wow, huh? He said, for every bird that is guarding me, there is an angel they report to, and sometimes the angels can take the form of a bird. Every time I see them, I now thank them, and they are everywhere I go. I know the threat level is higher when the mourning doves show up right in my path first thing in the morning. And oceans of them are along my path when I'm driving. I know that we are in a high-risk situation. We're in DEFCON 2. We're in DEFCON 1. Okay? I was also told that night that the Lord commands every animal and places them where He wishes, and He uses an entire army of animals to watch over me and to report to the angels. So an innumerable amount of lizards. I could never count how many lizards live down here in my yard, okay? That hang out on my porches, the iguanas in my yard, on my roof, at the pool, all the birds, especially the mourning doves, and many more. He will show me how it all works when I come, he told me. Now, here's one thing. When I take a picture, I can take a picture of a bird of any sort. Here's one that I took at a secular location. He just is a normal bird, okay? Here's one that is in one of the teams that is watching me. Do you see the little white line around this bird? This is an element that shows they're holy because they have the Shekinah that all Christians have around them. I was also told that animals can be Christian or non-Christian, and that animals can worship God or choose to not. Okay? So these are all birds that belong to God. They have the Holy Shekinah, and they're watching out for me and reporting to angels. So God is using things that we're not even paying attention to. And you could. It's really cool. Okay, so now we're on to Team S. From the spiritual warfare study done earlier, and when learning about the leadership structure of Team S, directly under Satan, there are rulers of spiritual wickedness and the rulers of spiritual darkness, right? They are over all of what we call sin. They are also over other hierarchies within Satan's system, okay? But their agents are observably in our world. If you recall from that teaching, the demons are very low level, okay? And they are under, far, far under the authority of darkness and wickedness. And we are always praying to bind darkness and wickedness, right? As well as demons. But we're trying to get to the top tier. The bottom tier is who's hanging out and trying to mess with us, okay? Now, as anointed, if you are anointed, as the anointed, you have a special marking on you that says to the whole rest of everything behind the veil, because they can see stuff we can't see, that we're not to be touched because we're God's anointed. So every single demon has been instructed by their authorities and their principalities to not harm any anointed. But because of the very nature of a demon, okay, they have no good in them. So their go-to, their way of life is lying, deception, being a terrible person, being a terrible being, etc., right? So they're not able to keep their own rules. They're not able to obey authority because of their very nature. So that means there are many rogue demons. They know they're not supposed to touch you, but then they do, because they're like, I'm going to be the one that does it, and it's really going to work this time. It never works. Because if you touch anointed and you're a demon, you go to the pit of hell forever, and you don't even get to come back to fight later. Like, it takes you off the chessboard. Like, not so smart. Now, when I talk about these demons, I want you to remember again, the rulers and the principalities and everything that we're dealing with on this side, there's more of us than with them, and we hold all the power. So don't be intimidated. Take this as instruction, okay? Like, okay, I'm learning about this topic, and I'm going to be able to better fight, okay? Don't take it as, oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed, now I'm freaking out. Okay, so Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle against powerful darkness and wickedness, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, and against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So we're going to define them out. Darkness has a specific look that you may not understand as darkness. I did not for a long time. Okay, this is the most common spirit to invade a Christian household who has holy ground. Why? Because of what it controls. Darkness encourages ungodliness, secrets, discord, selfishness, all which could give way to demonic control to help divert a Christian to get out of sync with God and off task, because their aim is to stop us from being effective. They don't want us to share Christ. They don't want us to be happy. Okay? Darkness does not take a human form or an animal form. That's very important. Darkness is like a jagged, misty blob that has a reddish-gray border or boundary, sort of like a cell. If you take a biology textbook, you look at those cross sections of a cell, and some of them are all jaggedy. That outside piece is exactly like what the outside of their boundary looks like. They can change in size. They are extremely transparent. They can be best seen on a solid color or near light. Now, here's the thing. They can be tiny, like a drop of water, or they can be giant. If you let them grow, they can be giant, like 12 feet, like big. I've seen big ones. But they're still a blob. They don't really take a form of like a man. Darkness can be seen sneaking out of a hiding place, or even TV. It can drift from the TV or the speakers of music. I have a picture here that has my effort. There's no way for me to make really what they look like, okay? But this is sort of similar to how they look. Don't pay attention to the circle, because that's the only way I could get this in the picture, okay? The circle around it, don't pay attention to. But the jaggedy, reddish line that is around this kind of light gray, as you see this laid across light and a non-light situation, you can see how it shows up, right? Now, this is how they gather. They'll come around and shrink them when the angels surround them. So what will happen is an angel will come in. It's very bright, and oftentimes it's the magenta protector angel. And you will not see the entire angel, but you will see a color come around this blob and then shrink it, shrink it, shrink it, shrink it. And then as it shrinks it, it gathers more and more of them and collects them together and takes it off to these boxes. It drifts about. It never bounces like an angel. It drifts very slowly and morphs in size as it does. And then they compress it and they remove it and they take them to the pit. But an angel will come around and shrink them. And then as they're gathered together, it's sort of like a balloon seller at Disney World. And it's almost as if they're all on one sort of string and they're all grouped together. And then that whole thing gets grouped and put into the box. Now, it's important to note that, okay, for you to understand, because the pictures are not doing this justice, but for you to understand what this might be like for you in real time. If you stare at a bright light, okay, like a halogen light, you just stare at it for like a minute, and then you look at a solid surface, like a white piece of paper. You know how you get the reverse image of that light, right? So it's like the filament within inside of it makes a shape, and then you get that in like a bluey tone on the white paper, right? Well, this is quite similar to that, where you can see a shape, except there's no light that has triggered this reaction in your eyes. You just see a shape, and it's kind of a blob shape. They're not all shaped like the ones in this picture, but some are longer, some are wider, some are fatter. But the point is that they're in that kind of color tone almost, except they're not as bluey, they're more gray, because they're evil, they're gross, okay? And it's very light. You have to pay attention. But when you see them, then you'll see them drifting along. And if you pray, then you will see them get gathered together. And then you will know, oh, there they go, see ya. On to the characters of wickedness. This controls fleshly sins, which many Christians stand firm against, but some are still falling prey to. So this will also invade a Christian household, but typically after darkness has found a foothold. Wickedness is like a jagged, dark, misty blob also, but it has a greenish-gray boundary. This shape can change in size. All of the properties and how the angels deal with them and what you do to get rid of them are the same. Okay? So what do you do if you see these? If you see these kind of gray blobs, okay, and they're floating along in your house, or floating around you wherever you are, immediately pray to bind what you see and have it removed. Pray to empower the angels to have God's full power and their full authority to protect you and to exterminate them and take them to the pit. Demons. Now this is a different category. These are the low-level ones. They are dingy, dark, shadowy, lumpy, slimy. They take on animal or beastly or humanish forms. Often they look like what Marvel puts in as a alien type creature or something from another land. They can be minuscule or medium or large. Their eyes are always gross and penetrating. The high order ones have hoods that are shaped like a rayfish. This is a sketch that I have seen. They like to lurk and hide, and they like to be just beyond your peripheral vision. You kind of feel like you see something, but then you can't. You turn and they're not there or whatever. They leave slimy or wet marks, like on my porch. Like it's gross, and if you touch that wet spot and smell it, it's disgusting. Like it's really gross. They smell like feces or rotting matter or burning sulfur, stuff like that. It's real gross. One day, I was on my porch. The Lord was telling me how these waves of demons and darkness and wickedness were coming in to the world, and this was back in October 2023. I was sitting on my porch, and I was looking at this one drop. It looked like a drop. And the drop of liquid. And I was like, well, I wonder what that is, because there was no source for it. So I put my finger on it and I smelled it. And I was like, gross. So then I was like, Lord, what the heck? So I started praying. And he said, I'm going to show you how many demons are around. So within the course of about 2 minutes, it went from one drop to like 100. And he said, that's how fast they're coming, and they're multiplying in each wave. And of course, he took them all away from me. But he was showing me how many there are. It is serious that we have to fight, people. Big, big serious. Like, this is like not a joke. This is not like, oh, she believes in demons. No, this is serious. Or the angels of deception. They are in the demon family, okay? They, just like Satan can pretend to be an angel of light, okay? Angels of deception have traits similar to an angel. They have wings, they have a human type form, they float, but their color is off. So this spirit is a light beige, almost yellow, tinged with gray. So they'll show up and they act like an angel, when regular angels are bright white, just off white with a happy yellow undertone. And they might be bright colors too, but they're all happy colors. The special ones have the bright magenta, there's a green, there's a blue, there's, you know, different happy earthy ones. But the angel of deception has like an off-white, an off tone. That's how you know they're deception. They're funky. You're like, that doesn't look like an, I mean, it looks like an angel sort of, but then they're like, not right. Something's off. And they will tell you things that are not right, that God would not say. Okay, so if you're confronted with that, understand how to identify that. What do? They can be rebuked, stopped, prayed against. Typically, I hold my hand in their direction, tell them to stop in the name of Jesus, and by the power of his blood, they must leave, and pray that the angels are empowered to take them away. If you notice a demon. Okay, so that's the first round of tips of what is behind the veil. The next lesson is going to be different things you can observe around you and then what to do about that, especially relating to people that visit your house or places you go or things you do. So if you find this helpful, you're going to find the next one 10 times more helpful, because you may not be able to see this, but you will be able to see the next stuff. Okay, so I hope this is helping you, and I'll see you next time.